Okay, good morning, class. Welcome to science. So today's Monday, March 30th. Did everybody have a great weekend?
Yes.
Do anything fun?
Nope, not really. Just kind of stayed inside.
Okay, great. Well, today is actually a very exciting day. We are going to be starting a new unit here in science. You guys may be somewhat familiar, but the unit that we are going to be starting is the human body systems. So believe it or not, there are 11 human body systems that we will be covering during the unit. Today, we will be starting with the skeletal system. So we always kind of start out with the skeletal system. Some of the main objectives for today's lesson, I want you guys to just become familiar with identifying the basic structures of the skeletal system and to also learn many of the main functions. So what the skeletal structure actually does for us. So if you could go ahead now and begin working on your entrance ticket. I know you guys all actually took one as you walked in, which was great. So I'm going to allow just a couple of minutes. I kind of want to just assess what you guys know at this point and to see, what we have to touch on further during the lesson. So go ahead and begin the entrance ticket. If there's any questions, please do not hesitate to raise your hand and I will come over and help you out. And you guys will see on the entrance ticket, you do have a word bank. So the word bank will help you identify some of those basic structures. There are 16 different areas on the skeletal system sheet that you have. So just do your best. Again, I just want to assess what you guys know at this point and then be able to answer any questions.
I actually do have a quick question.
Sure.
These blank spots on here, what are these for? There's like 4 of them.
Yeah, great question, Jimmy. So there are a couple extra spots on there I left blank. Some of these structures actually have 2 different names. So I left the blank spot there just to see if you guys kind of just know what those other names are. So for instance, the collarbone, which is number 2 on the word bank, the collarbone, actually another name for that would be the clavicle. And then we'll just see if you guys can figure out the other. Again, no stress, just do what you know, and then we'll be able to touch on the ones that you left blank during the lesson here.
Thank you.
Wow, great job, Jimmy.
Thank you.
All right, so let's start to wrap up the entrance ticket. Again, if you have any spots that are left blank, you'll have an opportunity in just a few minutes here. We're actually going to be watching a video, and I just kind of want to see what information you guys can pull from the video to help fill out your identification sheet. So if we could jump down, there was one question at the bottom of the entrance ticket, and that question asked, how many bones are there in the human adult skeleton? Is there anybody in the class that just maybe wants to take a guess or knows the answer to this question? Please raise your hand. Jimmy?
Is it 229?
Ooh, you're so close. So close. So I'm just going to go ahead and change my slide here. So the adult skeleton, believe it or not, has 206 bones, which is, it's kind of a lot if you think about it. But interesting enough, when we are born, we're actually born with 300 bones. Do you know why that may be?
Do the bones when you're a child and you get bigger, they fuse together?
Correct. Yeah. So some of the bones when you are born and when you're younger, they're more immature. So as you grow, those bones end up maturing and they will fuse together. So it's not like you lost any bones. What happens is they fuse together, creating one bone. Okay. So let's see here. So on the slide here, you'll see that each bone is actually made up of two types of bone tissue. So we have compact bone and spongy bone. And if you look here, I apologize, our smart board is actually down. It's not working today. So we're just gonna make do. I have my laptop pulled up here. I know it's a much smaller screen, but can you see this okay, Jimmy? Okay, awesome. So again, there are two types of bone. So you have compact bone or spongy bone. So if you look here, the compact bone is kind of on the outer portion there. It's a very hard, homogeneous, like it's the covering of the bone. So you'll see it on the outer portions. And then on the inside, that's where you'll find the softer, more spongy bone. It kind of has like more of those open spaces, and it actually resembles what a sponge would look like. Okay. Do you have any questions on that so far?
No.
Okay. So now we're going to go ahead. We are going to watch just a short video here to just kind of help you guys fill in. I want to see again what information you can pull out from the video. I notice you have some blank spots there. If you do, that's no problem at all. I'm going to go ahead now and we'll watch the video together.
Give your body structure. Protect your internal organs. This is a human skeleton, just a model of human bones. Don't get scared. Let's learn about the skeletal system. Every person has a skeleton built up of so many bones. These bones give your body structure, protect your internal organs, let you move, and much more. The adult human body has 206 bones, and an infant has 300 bones. This has become some smaller bones combined together, and thus form bigger bones. Now look closely here. This is our skull. It carries our brain and also supports our face. It protects the brain from knocks and bumps. We have a very small bone in our ears, the stirrup. It is the smallest bone of our body, about 2.5 to 3.3 millimeters only. These are called the clavicle, our shoulder bones, or collarbone. There are two clavicles, one on the right and one on the left. It is the only long bone in the body that lies horizontally. Now, look at this. It's a sternum, a long, flat bone. Oh, did you notice? It's shaped like a necktie. It's located in the center of our chest. And this cage-like thing is our rib cage. Our heart and lungs are behind these bones. So you can say rib cage is the curved wall of ribs that surrounds and protects our heart and lungs. Now, look at the bones of the hand. This bone in the hand is called the humerus, the long bone of the upper arm extending from the shoulder to the elbow. There are two more long bones in our hands, radius and ulna. They form the lower arm. And these bones in the palms, these over here, are called the carpals, metacarpals, and phalanges. Now, let's see the back of this. Look, it's not a single bone. It is built of 33 small bones called vertebrates. And this whole structure is known as the spine. The spine helps you twist and bend. Also, it holds our body upright. Yippee! Now look at this. See, this is the pelvic girdle. It protects the bladder and uterus. The longest and strongest bone in our body is the femur. And these two bones in the lower leg are fibula and tibia. These over here are the tarsals, metatarsals, and phalanges. It's hard, right? Human bone is made of collagen mostly. It is a protein that is woven into a flexible framework. It also contains calcium carbonate, calcium phosphate, and minerals that add strength and harden the frame. The combination of collagen and calcium gives the bone its flexibility and strength. You know a lot about the skeletal system. Let's go home. We should take proper care of our bones. We should do exercise, running, dancing, jumping, and we should play outdoor sports. It makes our bones strong. You know, if your body doesn't have enough calcium, it will take it from your bones, making your bones weaker. Ta-da! Good reason to drink milk. Protect those skull bones by wearing a good helmet for bike riding, skating, and other sports. Bye-bye. Skeletal system.
Okay, so that was the short video. Now that we have seen the video, does anybody have any questions, or are there any spots on your skeletal system labeling sheet that you still have questions about? Yes, Jimmy?
Yeah, so I still get the radius and the ulna confused.
Sure.
So I'm not sure if you have a certain way to memorize them.
Definitely. If you haven't noticed, we do have Mr. Bones is with us today. He's actually just a small little skeletal model here for us to look at as we learn these structures. But a great way to remember which bone is the radius versus ulna. First of all, both of these bones are what make up our forearm right here. So one way that I've always been able to remember the radius from the ulna is that your radius, it is a slightly larger bone, and the radius is always going to line up with your thumb. So as long as you know where your thumb is, you're going to know the radius will run down and meet up into that wrist area. As for the ulna, you can see on Mr. Bones here, this is his pinky. The ulna is a much thinner bone, and that's going to run and align with the pinky. So that's how you kind of can differentiate which bone is what.
And then also the fibula and the tibia.
Yes.
Kind of like the same thing, but
Exactly. So just knowing anatomically where these structures are, the tibia is always going to be the larger bone. So the larger bone, you'll be able to tell the difference. The fibula is going to actually run on the outside. So it's the outer bone. You can see how much thinner that bone is compared to the tibia. And those are the bones that make up your lower leg. Great questions. So if you could hand those in for me, I'm just going to take a look at these after. But what we're going to do now is we're actually I'm going to just present a little bit more information to you on the functions of the skeletal system. So again, our objectives today are to identify the basic structures of the skeletal system and just to understand what the functions are. So what is the purpose of the skeletal system? At the end of our lesson today, we're going to have a chance to create a poster project. We're going to be using a cardboard, a large sheet of paper here, and we're actually going to be making our own diagrams. And this is something you'll be able to use to study. We're going to hang these up in the classroom for a few days, and then you guys will be able to have these for studying purposes before the unit test next week. Okay, so this is what the next sheet looks like. I'm going to, again, talk about some structures and functions of the skeletal system. And as I do that, I would like you guys to go ahead and fill out this web. This is a great way to organize a bunch of information. And it's also a great way when I was in school, it helped me really study information just to see it in this organized format. It really did help with studying. So you are going to go ahead and find 5 different functions of the skeletal system. Okay, and then we'll discuss it at the end. Okay, so how is the skeletal system built? So the skeletal system contains bones, obviously. The bones are what make up the skeletal system, and they can be very common looking, like the femur. So again, we have the femur. It's going to be this large bone here. It's one of the largest bones in the body. Or they can be strange looking, like the vertebrae. So the vertebrae are what, we spin him around here, the vertebrae actually make up our spine. Joints are also a main structure in the skeletal system. So joints are actually where the bones meet up. There are several joints in the entire skeletal system, but the joints actually allow for motion. So you can see at the bottom of the slide here, it refers to hinge joints. So you can find a hinge joint in the knee area. That's actually the most common hinge joint in the body. But again, there are several other hinge joints like the elbow. Again, the knee is the most common. Cartilage is also a structure of the skeletal system. It's a firm tissue that's much softer than bone, so you can always tell the difference. Cartilage is found between bones like elbows, knees, and ankles. It also makes up our ears and the end of our nose, so you can tell if you kind of tug on your earlobe, it's very flexible compared to what a bone would feel like. And now we have ligaments and tendons, which I'm sure all of you have heard of before. Ligaments are more tough. They are still flexible, but they connect bone to bone. You can see in the ankle picture there, the ligaments connect the bones in our ankles and feet. So there are several ligaments that you can view there, the white portions in the ankle region. And then for tendons, tendons are structures that connect bone to muscle. So they're different from ligaments. Ligaments connect bone to bone. Tendons connect bone to muscle. So again, that allows for movement in a certain area. You may have heard of the Achilles tendon. That's actually one of the most popular known tendons. It connects the bottom of the calf muscle there to our heel bone. And now we're going to move into talking about different functions. So this is where you're going to go ahead and try to find information from this presentation and fill out your web diagram. So the skeletal system, it actually gives the body its framework and shape. So bones are held together by ligaments, and bones and ligaments together form our skeletal system. And you can see on the diagram there, we have the shoulder blade, the metacarpals in the hand. We have the tibia again and the fibula, the lower leg bones that we talked about. So tibia being the larger lower leg bone and fibula being the outer smaller one. We also have the collarbone. Does anybody know the other name again? Can you just repeat?
The clavicle.
Exactly. Good job, Jimmy. And then we have the kneecap and the metatarsals. So metatarsals are found in the foot, and then we have metacarpals that are found in the hand. So that's how you can remember carpals are in the hand, tarsals are in the feet. Any questions so far? Okay, so another function of the skeletal system is that it protects internal organs. So if we look, we have the skull there. The skull actually protects our brain, which is extremely important. We also have the spinal cord. So the spinal column, which protects our spinal cord. And then we also have our sternum and rib cage, which you'll see sternum here, and then the rib cage here, which is going to protect our heart and lungs. So they protect our internal organs. Third, the skeletal system actually enables us to move. So joints work together with muscles and tendons, and that's going to allow us to have full range of motion. And then on this image here, you can see the rib cage again. We have the pelvis. You can also refer to it as the pelvic girdle, but it's going to kind of make up that whole area. And then we also have, again, the femur, the largest bone in the body. And then we have the humerus, which is this bone right here. So it's our upper arm bone. Doing okay? Another function of the skeletal system is that it produces red blood cells. So red blood cells are made in the bone marrow of many bones. Again, they produce red blood cells, which carries oxygen. And then it also stores minerals. So bones draw calcium out of our blood, and they're going to store it until we need it. So that's why drinking milk is so important, because milk has calcium. So if our body needs calcium, the calcium is going to actually help our bones become fortified and just strengthen them, which is very important to prevent osteoporosis. Okay, so do we have any questions with The web. How do we do with that? Is it okay? So I kind of want to just quickly go over what we came up with. So we're going to use our large whiteboard here and just kind of discuss the 5. And again, there are multiple functions of the skeletal system, but these are the main 5 that I really wanted to focus on during the lesson today. But Jimmy, what did you come up with for one of the first functions?
Gives the body framework and shape.
Okay. And what did you have written in the center?
Just functions of the skeletal system.
Perfect. Okay, and you said the first one was what?
Gives the body framework and a shape.
Okay, what is another function?
Enables you to move.
Yeah. I hope you guys can see this okay. And third function.
Produces red blood cells.
Yeah, good job. And I'm going to write RBC.
Yep.
What is a fourth function?
It stores minerals.
Great. And number 5.
Protects internal organs.
Awesome. Okay, great job. That was awesome. Do you have any questions on that before we proceed?
No.
No?
No.
Do you feel like you're understanding the structures and functions okay?
Yes.
Alrighty, so now we can see here, according to our PowerPoint, we are going to start our skeletal posters. So this is the fun part. So I have all the materials already cut and ready for you, but you can actually place this to the side and use that for reference. But we're gonna be using this colored construction paper, so that's for you, Jimmy. And then what we're gonna be doing is just creating a larger image, and I wanna kind of see what you guys have learned up to this point. So we're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna have you glue this in the center of your paper. And the supplies are there in the center. And then the only difference with that sheet that you are gluing is that one does not include a word bank. So again, I want to see what you guys remember and what you've learned so far during the lesson. Again, those are the main objectives today, is just learning the basic structures and the functions of the skeletal system. I do have here an example of my poster project. So you can see I used a different marker to label each different part just to make it more kind of fun. And then there is also a bonus question that I'm going to have you add to the poster. So Jimmy, if you could start, as you start to label that, start thinking on your poster. I want you to answer, what is one way we can properly support our bones? How can we support our bones? And I'm just going to have this here. And just use that as a reference. Try not to copy directly off of it. Again, we're going to have these posters. We're going to hang these up in the classroom. And then you guys will be able to use them for your unit test next week. How are you doing, James? And don't forget to write your name at the top so we know whose they are. And I know with you, Jimmy, you are a visual learner, so if you do need to use Mr. Bones, please feel free. He's here. He likes to be of help. And depending on how you guys are doing with the poster project, if you are ahead of the rest of your classmates, oh, my poster fell. I'm sorry. I'll just hold it.
What's another name for the kneecap?
Another name for the kneecap is the patella.
Okay, thank you.
Great question. And on the unit test, you can label it either way. I will accept both your answers, and you still receive full credit. Great job. And if you guys want to, you could either, if you want to add the functions of the skeletal system to the right, kind of like I did here, you can add it, and then if you want to just put it in this format, the diagram, the web format, you can. If you want to bullet them, like list all 5 bulleted, that would be fine too, whatever you prefer. And don't forget to answer the bonus question. So one way we can properly support our bones. And please let me know if you have any questions, if something's not making sense, if you're forgetting a body part, don't be afraid to ask. That's what I'm here for.
On the test, do we have to put spinal column for the answer? If you put spinal cord, that'll probably be wrong, right?
Yes, you do not want to put spinal cord. That is a structure of the nervous system. So we want to make sure we're referring just to the bones. We're going to be moving on to the other body systems later in the week. Again, the skeletal system is just the beginning. So like we talked about in the beginning, there are 11 body systems. So for now, we're just going to focus on the bones and the skeletal structures. Okay, looking good.
And then you said we can bullet these?
Yes, and then you can answer your bonus question too. You're moving right along there, Jimmy. That's great to see. Remember what they carry? We'll get to it later in the unit, but red blood cells carry oxygen.
Wow.
So it allows us to move, protects our internal organs, stores minerals like calcium, produces red blood cells, and with the last one, exactly. Perfect.
And what was the question again?
So if you want to write on the right side there, just kind of like how I have.
The full question?
You don't. You just write. If you want to write bonus question, and then I'll just have you write your answer below it. But the bonus question is, what is one way we can properly support our bones? So I have on my example, like my model here, I put by exercising, because exercising helps our bones become stronger.
Drinking milk.
Okay. Now, are you all set with that?
Yep.
Jimmy? You go ahead and take that. Like I said, we're going to be hanging these around the room once everyone is finished. But this looks great. I'm going to hold it up here so everybody can see Jimmy actually finished his, and it's looking really good. So we're going to hang these up later in the class. I'll probably do it once you guys leave. But one very last activity for this lesson is our exit ticket. So I'm going to have everybody do the exit ticket, and once you're finished with it, the bell's going to ring in about 1 to 2 minutes. But the exit ticket is going to ask us today to take your answer to the bonus question. So your answer to the bonus question was what?
Exercise and drink milk.
Okay. So if you take those answers, I want you to be able to explain and defend your answer. So I want you to state on this exit ticket why. What would that do? What does drinking milk do for us? Why is
So
that
write
important?
down
Your
exercise
answer,
and
why?
drink.
Yeah, exactly. So defend your answer. Why would it be important to drink milk? And the bell's going to ring here in just a second, but I just want to remind you and just wrap everything up. Our skeletal system really is an amazing array of structure and functions. The system as a whole, it gives our body shape. It gives us the ability to move, protects our internal organs, regulates calcium, and manufactures blood. So they actually, our bones do way more than we thought that they could do. Okay, and if you're all set with that, I can go ahead and take that. Great job today, Jimmy. Do you have any questions before the bell rings, like I said? Any questions? You did great. Good job.
Thank you.